Hey guys, Crypto here with a long-awaited video update here on XRP. I've been getting you guys commenting on my Twitter posts for a while now. Craig, can you post an update on XRP? Can you post some charts on XRP? And I responded to some of those, and I basically said that there's not much point in me posting charts on XRP right now because reliable sources can conclude that a decision in the Ripple case may be coming soon. We're waiting for the judge to rule on on certain XRP issues, and everyone was waiting for this summary judgment to happen. And we knew that it was a matter of time. It could have happened any day, but there was no definitive date. So I woke up this morning and opened Twitter, and the first thing I saw was someone tagging me and mentioning XRP. Then looked at the price and saw that it was trading at 60 plus cents, and it made a 20-cent move, about a 50% gain within an hour. And then I went on to Twitter, and lo and behold, it turns out that the summary judgment ruling was made, and it was made in favor of XRP. Now, in this video, I want to talk about XRP. I want to talk about a lot of things, so it's going to be a pretty in-depth video. I'm not going to just talk about technical analysis. I'm also going to talk about the fundamental analysis. I'm going to talk about the court case. I'm going to talk about the decision that was made. I'm going to talk about potential implications. I'm going to talk about a bunch of stuff that I haven't talked about in a long time. And we're going to tie this all together. I think it's very, very bullish for XRP and Ripple. I mean, they've done so much over the last 2 years despite this lawsuit. And there's just so much to talk about if you haven't been following along with what's been going on. So I'm going to make this video. I don't have any particular script that I'm following, so I'm just going to kind of go from topic to topic, and we'll see where this takes us. I think you guys will enjoy this, especially if you haven't been following the Ripple or XRP case over the last couple of years. There are a lot of developments that have happened. So let's jump right into it, guys. Starting off with this tweet from, I believe Stewart is Ripple's general counsel, or head of their general counsel, their lead lawyer, essentially. And you can go ahead and read this. A huge win today. As a matter of law, XRP is not a security. Also a matter of law, sales on exchanges are not securities. Sales by executives are not securities. Other XRP distributions to developers, to charities, to employees are not securities. The only thing the court found constitutes an investment contract is past direct XRP sales to institutional clients. There will be further court proceedings only on these institutional sales per the court's order. My absolute gratitude to the teams that have been working tirelessly on this matter for over the years. So guys, a big thing about this, those of us who have been following along and are advocates of XRP, obviously have known from the start that XRP is not a security. They were trying to twist and manipulate this decades-old law to sort of apply to cryptocurrencies in general, which they really don't, because this is an entirely new asset class. But we could all tell, based on the simple facts and using logic, that there is no way that an XRP token is akin to a security such as a stock or a share in a company. You can't buy a cup of coffee with stocks and shares of a company. You can't do a lot of things you can do with XRP with stocks and shares of a company, which is what people think of when they think of traditional securities. So we all knew this was coming. It's been a big, crazy, long journey. And finally, the courts have affirmed what we always knew, that XRP itself, the actual token, is not a security. And so here is a portion of the text, and James right here is one of the lawyers that has been covering XRP for over 2 years, and his insight has been pretty spot on. I've been following him for a while, and he's usually the first to break the news and the first to break it down for people like us who aren't lawyers. So this is really important, what he pointed out here. This to me is the most important part of the decision. Programmatic sales are not securities, and because a programmatic buyer stood in the same shoes as a secondary market purchaser, secondary market sales are not investment contracts, not securities. Secondary market sales are sales that happen on exchanges. So when you buy XRP on exchanges like Coinbase, for example. And this is the text that was in the ruling. Having considered the economic reality of the programmatic sales, the court concludes that the undisputed record does not establish the third Howey prong. Remember, all three Howey prongs must be established in order to call something a security. And then they say, whereas the institutional buyers reasonably expected that Ripple would use the capital received from its sales to improve the XRP ecosystem and thereby increase the price of XRP, they actually mentioned Kick, which is interesting because I'm going to talk about Kick and their kin token later on in this video. programmatic buyers could not reasonably expect the same. So they're saying that while the institutional sales that Ripple made to institutions may have been considered security contracts, the programmatic buyers and the secondary exchange buyers were not buying securities, right? Programmatic buyers could not reasonably expect the same. Indeed, Ripple's programmatic sales were blind bid-ask transactions, and programmatic buyers could not have known if their payments of money went to Ripple or any other seller of XRP. Since 2017, Ripple's programmatic sales represented less than 1% of the global XRP trading volume. Therefore, the vast majority of individuals who purchased XRP from digital asset exchanges like Coinbase did not invest their money in Ripple at all. An institutional buyer knowingly purchased XRP directly from Ripple pursuant to a contract, but the economic reality is that a programmatic buyer stood in the same shoes as a secondary market purchaser like me or you, who did not know to whom or what it was paying its money, okay? And this is important because it essentially says that second-hand exchanges of XRP on these exchanges between me and you and everyone else who is buying XRP on Coinbase, those are not subject to securities laws, or those are not securities sales, right? And so following this ruling, this verdict, almost immediately we saw almost every major U.S. exchange relist XRP. It was crazy how fast this happened. And it's funny because a couple of minutes before this started happening, I was like, just wait till the relisting start. And then a few minutes later, we got Gemini. Given today's ruling that the sale of XRP in exchanges is not a security, Gemini is exploring the listing of XRP for both spot and derivatives trading. A few minutes later, Coinbase will re-enable trading for XRP. A few minutes later, Kraken, new token available, XRP. And a few minutes after that, Bitstamp US XRP. So almost every single major US exchange that delisted XRP over 2 years ago has now relisted XRP upon confirmation that XRP, the token itself, is not a security. So this was massive, massive news. And I know we've all been waiting for this for a long time. And we finally got that confirmation that we were waiting for. And almost immediately, XRP price shot from 40 cents to 60. And today, or right now, I should say, it trades at 80 cents, almost 100% up on the day. Let's go ahead now and dive into the charts. I will also add, guys, one more important fact here, or one more important thing to mention here. The people that hate XRP with a passion for no reason at all seem to believe that this doesn't matter, that it will be appealed, and so this is a non-event. The SEC will appeal this decision, and nothing has changed. So from my understanding, and I'm not a lawyer, so if I'm wrong, the lawyers can correct me. But from my understanding, what was decided here was what you'd call like a partial summary judgment, right? As you can see here in Stewart's text, and you can find that reading the official text of the decision as well, there will be further court proceedings only on these institutional sales per the court's order. So this was like a partial summary judgment, a judgment on a portion of the things that were being debated in the case, and there is yet to be a final decision on some other portions of the case, okay? And my understanding is that when a summary judgment is delivered prior to a case actually concluding, and there's still part of the case that needs to be decided, there cannot be an appeal on these specific aspects of the summary judgment until the entire case has concluded. And once those other topics, the ones that are highlighted here, have been decided and ruled upon, then at that point, an appeal can be made against the entire case. Now, that is my understanding. Again, the lawyers out there can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially what that implies is that this decision will stand for at least a few more months. I don't know how long the rest of the case is going to take to finally close, but this decision will stand for the coming months and will not be appealed tomorrow, for example. Will not be appealed a week from now or a month from now. And a few months is all we really need to get price going to the upside again. And of course, if you guys have been following me, you know that I'm very bullish on the market as a whole over the next 6 months, expecting new all-time highs on Bitcoin this year. You can watch my prior YouTube video for that content. But the idea is simply that even if there is going to be an appeal, I do not expect that will be announced anytime soon, or I don't think that appeal will go into action anytime soon. And so the momentum that we're going to carry from this moment on will last for some months, in my opinion, and that does significantly change things, both on the technical side and on the fundamental side. So with that being said, guys, let us jump into the charts. This is the chart of XRP today, and I want to share a clip from a video I made on XRP back here this was March of 2020. So over 2 years ago, I made a video on XRP that is on my YouTube channel. I'm going to share you guys a clip of it because what I talk about in this video is very, very important for why I think we're going to see a monster run on XRP in the coming months. And the context is applicable here as well. Okay, back then I was talking about price over here, and in that video I said this was probably our bottom, and I was talking about why I expect a massive move to the upside on XRP. Everything that I talked about there, it's a kind of an oversimplistic concept, but it's the idea of why consolidation precedes expansion, and why the longer the consolidation, the greater the expansion, why that holds true. So if you might have seen it yet, but it's a good refresher. Again, it's a little bit oversimplified, but the idea is sound, the concept is legitimate. And I'm gonna go ahead and roll that clip. After we watch that clip, we'll jump back to this chart and then discuss.
If you have something that's been consolidating for 5 months versus something that's been consolidating for a year and a half, why is it that we expect the coin that's been consolidating for a year and a half to make a larger expansion to the upside when it does break? So I'm here to explain in this video the psychology behind that and why we can have those expectations, all right? So the idea at its very core is, let's take this market crash, and we've seen the market crash for every coin since December 2017, maybe 1% being an exception. But for most coins, we saw a crash off all-time highs and a drop to the downside. Now, some coins have started going up, right? Whereas XRP has essentially been dragging down consistently for all this time. So what is the difference between those coins that have started moving up and versus XRP that continually moves down? What's happening here, and why does it not matter to me? And in fact, why does it make me more bullish on potential ROI in XRP in the future? Well, think about it this way, guys. At the top of the last bull market here at $3.60, remember, for every buyer, there's a seller. So we had people trading over here. The guys that were selling at $3 plus were selling to someone who's buying at $3 plus. And that occurred all the way down, right? Now, we had some people that bought at these highs. Actually, let me go ahead and clean this up real quick, just to make things a little bit more clear. Okay, so we had some people that were buying at $3.50, some people that bought at $2, some people that bought at $2.50, some people that bought at $1.50, right? And these are our bag holders, the guys who bought the highs and haven't sold, and they bought all the way down for whatever reason, and they're still holding on. Some of them are, while some have sold, right? So each line here is going to represent a bag holder, okay? Billy, Bob, Joe, Jane, Jack, and Jill, whatever you want to call them. These are individuals that were buying the dip all the way down, right? And the idea was that they said, hey, it's okay if it falls lower, I'll hold, and eventually it's going to come back and I'll make my money back, right? So every coin had bag holders buying on the way down that are currently underwater, okay? Now, as some coins began to pump to the upside like this, these bag holders, if they managed to hold on this long, may have exited their positions, may have gotten out, sold at a profit. Basically, as we start moving up to these levels, all these bag holders that we're holding, not all of them, but some of them, are going to start selling as we approach the prices they were at. These are the guys that have given up, that believe that they no longer believe in crypto. They hadn't done their research. They just kind of bought because of the hype, and they've been waiting for a price to return to where they bought so they can sell and cash out. So essentially, as price makes its way to the upside here, there's sell pressure all the way up to the prior highs of $3.70. This sell pressure is coming from guys who are bag holding at these levels all the way up to $3.47, right? So Bob is waiting for price to go back to 40 cents so he can cash out of his XRP, because he's like, shit, I got stuck in it. I don't believe in it. I bought it because of the hype. Now it's a shit coin. XRP's or Ripple's dumping a billion coins in the market. Everyone's selling it. No one wants it. I'm going to sell as soon as it comes back to 40 cents because I don't want to invest in XRP. Let me put my money into Tezos or Link because those have been popping off like mad. They're up 10,000% and I'm going to be rich. So forget XRP. I'm going to cash out at 40 cents, right? So that type of mentality has people waiting here that have been buying on the way down, that are holding their bags to exit as price moves up. So as price moves up, it finds resistance in the form of sellers that are cashing out, which causes price to grind up rather slowly, right? Doesn't cause it to shoot up tomorrow, but it causes it to sort of grind to the upside as these bag holders are creating sell pressure. Underwater holders are creating sell pressure as price moves up, right? Now, at the same time, out of Billy, Bob, Joe, Jack, Jill, Jane, and Joe, Billy, who bought at 250, decided when XRP was at 20 cents right here and it wasn't moving up and it just kept falling. And why does it keep falling? Why is it moving up? All this fundamentals, all this great progress is happening, but XRP isn't moving up. Meanwhile, Ethereum is moving up, Bitcoin's moving up, Link's moving up. you know what, forget XRP. I don't care that I bought it at 250. I'm going to sell my bag for a loss, and I'm going to get out. I'm going to move my money somewhere else, right? So Billy, he sells his bag, okay? Which means Billy's sell pressure, the orders that Billy had stacked here to get to cash out are no longer there, okay? In the same way, Jane, who bought at $1.10, she felt the same way. She's like, you know what? I've had it. I'm done with XRP. I'm selling my bags. I'm capitulating. I'll take the loss. I'll throw into an investment that's pumping right now. I'm going to make my money back. So Jane, she also sells her bag, okay? Joe down here, Joe sitting at 52 cents. He finally had it a month ago when he capitulated down to 10 cents. He's like, all right, this thing's going to zero. I'm out of here. Joe sells his bag, okay? So what happens now, guys, is as we continue to grind lower and people get bored and get frustrated with XRP and they start selling their bags for a loss and they get out, the sell pressure that was at these levels is diminishing, okay? Because sellers that were previously going to sell as price moved up here have now cashed out and capitulated and left the market, okay? So people say that bear markets bottom on boredom. You get a big V reversal or you get a rounded bottom or something of this nature where it drags on, essentially bores out all the market participants to a point where sellers essentially vanish. The sellers are all gone because they've all capitulated, right? So we had, out of our 8 sellers, 4 of them capitulated, all right? And if this were to continue to drag on, boom, maybe another one capitulates, maybe another one capitulates, all right? So now when price does begin, all right, when price eventually does begin to move to the upside. Now, keep in mind, the guys that capitulated here, they sold to buyers at these levels, right? There's guys that bought their bags at 20 cents, that bought their bags at 17 cents, that bought their bags at 10 cents, at 12 cents. While these guys are capitulating and selling the bags they bought up at these levels, they were selling them to people like us, right, that were buying everything in this region, okay? And what are we doing? We're not selling till it gets to 350, right? So all the potential XRP to be sold onto the market to people that want to buy it that got sold down here is essentially off the market. I'm not selling till I see new highs. So that XRP that was circulating in the market has been taken off by holders like me, right? I'm not going to sell it here. So now I bought the bags from Billy, Bob, Joe, Jack, and Jane. If someone wants to buy as we start moving up, who's going to sell to them? 8 out of 10 sellers. Again, this is a very simple generalization. I'm trying to get a point across, right? 8 out of 10 sellers in the market have left. They've already capitulated and sold, which means you have 2 guys left that could potentially sell to you as the price moves up. And because of this, the order books stacked all the way to the upside have become thinner, you can say, because of everyone that's capitulated. So now when price eventually starts moving up, okay, in a coin like XRP, where a lot of the bag holders have capitulated, when price eventually starts moving up, you have one seller at 38 cents. Again, this is a pretty big generalization. I'm trying to get the idea across. The order books are thin. So you have one seller at 36 cents. So sale executes at 36 cents, all right? And now people are seeing XRP move and it's pumping, and all of a sudden they want to buy because of FOMO, and Brad Garlinghouse came out and announced that they've partnered with Wells Fargo, okay, whatever it is. So now you have buyers that want to buy, okay, but you don't have sellers left to sell because everyone who sold at these levels, we bought their coins down here and we're not going to sell to you at 40 cents. I'm not going to sell to you at 50 cents. I'm not going to sell to you at 60 cents. I'm not going to sell to you at $1. So who's left to sell, right? These order books are thinner. There's not many sellers left. And now buyers are entering the market, okay? So this guy market buys and the first sell order waiting is at 39 cents. He gets filled, okay? The next guy market buys after him. The closest sell order is at 60 cents. The price jumps up to 60. The closest sell order after that is $1.57. The price jumps up to $1.57. Basically, with a thinner order books, because there's not many sellers left, now when buyers step into the market, price accelerates to the upside a lot faster than it would have, because everyone, not everyone again, generalization, but a lot of people that were bag holding have capitulated at this point because price never saw any major move to the upside. It just kept dragging to the downside, right? So price starts accelerating the upside very quickly, all right? Much more quickly than a coin in which, you know, it has been making pumps to the upside, giving people hope, keeping people from selling their bags, letting them hold them, right? If XRP had pumped to 40 cents and some bag holders at 50 cents, you're thinking, okay, I'll just wait till 50 cents. It's going to get there eventually. It's moving, right? But when price just continues to fall like this, those guys lose hope and they sell early and they take their loss and they move on. So the sell pressure to the upside for coins like XRP is a lot less, okay? Situation like this, same thing. We had ranging here for 3 years, okay? In that time, anyone who had bought at these levels that was concerned, they capitulated. 3 years later, there's no one left and price rockets within a week goes from 9 cents to, or sorry, 0.09, less than a penny to 6 cents, and then soon after pumps up to 20 cents, right? So the same kind of thing applies here. So although XRP is lagging right now, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't concern me. It's actually gets me excited because I think that when XRP does start running, due to the lack of sell pressure, price should accelerate rather quickly to the upside, right?
All right, guys. So interestingly enough, back when I made that, we were trading right about here. Mentioned that the bottom was here. You can see that in the video as well. That was, in fact, our bottom on XRP. And you can see that what followed was pretty rapid price appreciation. Okay, we went from 24 cents up to 77 cents in a matter of a couple of weeks. Okay, and then what happened was the SEC lawsuit against Ripple. Okay, and that sent us down with a massive liquidation candle back down to 17 cents, made a higher low above the bottom, but that was a pretty brutal drop there. And then what happened after that was obviously a recovery. And by the time we hit around $2, Bitcoin had hit 60K. Bitcoin ran from its bear market bottom to 60K at around this point here. And then we saw obviously the major correction in Bitcoin that brought the entire market down. Then Bitcoin rallied up and made another higher high at 69K. And then obviously from 69K down to Bitcoin hitting 15K, we saw the entire market bleed, right? So essentially what looks to have happened was everything that I talked about in that video was playing out. We had essentially a bunch of accumulation at the lows. Anyone who wanted to sell had sold. And so when price started moving up, it started moving up very aggressively. But what happened was the SEC lawsuit caused an influx of new panic selling. And this was obviously a massive liquidation wick. So everyone was obviously very bullish. This thing happened. It kind of stopped the momentum. All of those holders that had been buying and accumulating, a portion of them had panicked, dumped their XRP, and we saw this major drop, okay? And then obviously XRP recovered over the coming weeks and months, and then we'll go on to make new local highs. But at this point, Bitcoin had hit its top for the market, and then we saw a bleed on the market as a whole over the next few months. So essentially, the SEC lawsuit seems to have stunted the growth for XRP for a period of time, but that period of time was enough to keep XRP down while the rest of the market rallied. And ultimately, when Bitcoin began crashing and the market began coming down as a whole, XRP was not immune to that and came down with the rest of the market. So we never managed to make new all-time highs on XRP, right? So the SEC lawsuit, and even at the time I was saying this is not the end of XRP. This is a roadblock that we will overcome. And it did stunt the momentum and the growth of XRP at the time, preventing us from making new all-time highs like I was expecting. I was not expecting us to fail to do that. And then we obviously continue to bleed with the rest of the market. And so what we have seen since then was essentially a repeat of this drop in consolidation. Everything that I talked about in that video, the mechanics of people panicking and selling and getting bored and selling and dumping, and essentially XRP moving from weak hands to strong hands occurred again right over here, right? Everyone who at this point wanted to get rid of XRP got rid of XRP. They either got bored or tired of waiting. They either lost hope because of the lawsuit. They thought it's never going to end. It's over. Dumped their XRP over a period of time. And so when good news finally comes out that the lawsuit is over and the cloud hanging above XRP is gone, what do we see? We see a massive spike in price because everyone who wanted to sell, and I say everyone, obviously I'm generalizing, but most people who wanted to sell have sold. XRP now lies in the hands of those who truly believe in XRP and truly believe that it was not a security and truly believe that the outcome of this case would be positive. And you know that those people are not, they're diehard XRP fans. They're not going to be selling anytime soon. They're looking for new highs. So when the news comes out that this cloud is gone and XRP is not a security, the only other asset in the space that has regulatory clarity besides Bitcoin, really, with the way that SEC is going on a rampage lately, and buyers decide to step in, price moves up extremely aggressively because there's very few sellers left and a boatload of buyers that have now stepped in the market, right? Add to this the idea that, and I've talked about this in prior videos as well, liquidity right now, because we're what some will say in the depths of a deep bear market. Of course, you guys know my opinion on that and where we're headed, but because of the drawdown that we've seen over the last 2 years in the crypto market, liquidity is very, very scarce, right? There's not much new money entering now. I've talked about in prior videos how new money will enter once we break prior all-time highs on Bitcoin. And because of this, there isn't much money to go around. So where does the money go? Typically to Bitcoin, right? And I've made a video on this. I'm not going to repeat everything in this video here, but I've talked about it in the past, and it's covered in my last video that specifically talks about Bitcoin on YouTube. But the idea is that money kind of goes to where the attention is, right? And with XRP just at this point now, essentially overcoming the hurdle that was the SEC and getting clarity, at least secondary sales of XRP getting clarity, that money and that attention right now at this particular moment is definitely on XRP, right? Everyone is now looking at XRP because XRP just essentially defeated the SEC in a decision that was very, very significant and one that everyone was waiting for. So focus is now on XRP. And so money I expect to flow to XRP. And to give you guys some additional context about like what this could mean, I shared a tweet earlier. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. I shared a tweet earlier on Kin, on a token called Kin. And those of you who were here in 2017 recall Kik, the little messaging app, kind of like WhatsApp. And they had a Kin token, right? And Kin hit an all-time high in 2017 during the ICO boom and then proceeded to bleed down over a number of years, okay? This chart doesn't actually show that prior price history because I couldn't get it. All right, guys, so here's the Kin chart. And so this was the boom in 2017. Kin hits an all-time high of 0.001 cents, but then ended up bleeding down like the rest of the market after the 2017 boom. And let me just go into log scale to make this a little bit easier to see. So Kin hits an all-time high in the 2017 ICO boom and then proceeds to bleed down, okay? In 2019, the SEC files a lawsuit against Kik, I should say, against their Kin token, claiming that they raised $100 million during the ICO boom of 2017 in an unregistered securities offering. The same thing that they're saying that Ripple did, right? Unregistered securities offering. Except obviously Ripple's number was bigger. But this is what they sued them for. The SEC sued them, right? About 1.5 years later, on October 20th, down 99% from its old all-time high, it's announced that the lawsuit has concluded. Okay, the same way that, and again, the lawsuit hasn't officially concluded for XRP, but the biggest point, that was the sticking point and the issue of contention for most XRP holders and exchanges that have now relisted XRP was that it could be security. That part of the lawsuit has essentially concluded, right? So 3 days later, the lawsuit concluded and Kin began a mega rally that sent it up over 50x in the 6 months that followed. If I show you guys the chart, this was our major significant bottom. 3 days later, it's announced that the SEC lawsuit against Kin has concluded and the Kin token can continue to trade. Lots of similarities to XRP today. And you can see that what followed was a 5,000% rise in Kin over the next 6 months, which is also a 50x rise on Kin over the next 6 months. Now, I'm not saying that XRP will do 50x over 6 months. That's not what I'm trying to say here, that it's going to replicate exactly what Kin did. All I'm trying to show you guys is that after a long period of bleeding, a long period of downwards price action, when a cloud like an SEC lawsuit or some other major fundamental event is hovering over, negative fundamental event is hovering over a crypto asset, and everyone who wanted to sell has been burnt out or sold, when that cloud is lifted and money flows in, things get crazy fast, right? There is no longer that concern, that ambiguity, that issue of whether or not XRP is a security. That has been settled. And as I said before, because most of those who wanted to sell have sold, when demand does come in, price pumps, and it pumps hard and it pumps fast. So I'm not saying that XRP is necessarily going to go 60x or 50x in 6 months. But what I am saying is that we're probably going to see new highs. In fact, I can say we'll most definitely see new highs. Of course, nothing is ever guaranteed, so I hesitate from ever saying that, but I have no doubt in my mind that we will see new highs. And how high will we go after that? We'll talk about that here in the video in a little bit. But that is the point that I'm trying to make, that we've seen this happen before. And if you think that this was all we're going to get after the conclusion of this case, you're selling yourself short. We're going to get much, much bigger than this. And so now I want to show you guys, now that we've covered, the psychology behind why we're expecting such a massive pump, let's talk about the technical analysis. We'll talk about this from a few different points of view. We'll look at the XRP BTC chart. We'll look at the XRP USD chart. And there's many different ways to look at this. So I'll show you guys a few different examples of ways that you can interpret this. Any way that you look at this, it's bullish. But we'll go ahead and take a look at all the different examples. And I cover these examples because those of you who follow me know that I utilize Elliott wave theory for my higher time frame analysis, and it can also be used on lower time frames, but I use it as a framework of my high time frame analysis. A lot of people have this negative idea about Elliott wave, and there's a few reasons for that. One is that it seems overly simplistic when you first look at it, and a lot of people that are new to the space or new to Elliott wave will jump into it and pick it up and start practicing and using it, but they use it the wrong way. And so you get a lot of analysts that don't know what they're doing with Elliott wave, using it the wrong way, and it makes for lack of a better way of saying it, it makes Elliott wave look bad. Because there's a lot of nuances to the theory, and it's a bit more complex than it's made out to be. And so it gets a bad rep, right? But I've said before, and I'll say again, that Elliott wave is simply the simplest way to describe it is a way to analyze market structure on different time frames. And it is if you believe in market structure and uptrends and downtrends, then you essentially agree with the logic behind Elliott wave. You just don't know that yet because you haven't taken the time to understand it. But I've talked about that in prior videos. I'm not going to go over it again. So I'll talk about this chart in Elliott wave perspectives, and then I'll also talk about it in more traditional perspectives. That way, those who don't necessarily prescribe to the Elliott wave theory or the method or think that it's a bunch of garbage, you can see another viewpoint that kind of aligns, because at the end of the day, it's all the same stuff that we're looking at, different ways to look at it. But for those that are in both parties, I'm going to cover both interpretations here so that it's very clear that this thing is bullish any way you look at it. So we'll start off from a Elliott wave perspective, and I'll just talk about the low time frame here because it's very, very sharp, very, very clear. I mean, look at that volume. That is beautiful to see. We haven't seen volume like that in a long time. Beautiful to see. But anyways, let me go back down to the lower time frames, and we'll take a look at this from an Elliott wave perspective just to begin, as that is my preferred method of analysis here. And what we can see here is very simply off of this initial impulse to the upside, or initial push to the upside, some consolidation here, and this nice clean 5-wave move. Okay, and if anyone ever wanted to know what a traditional Elliott wave impulse looks like, this is it. Okay, strong moves up, tight consolidations, followed by strong moves up, tight consolidations, followed by strong moves up in a nice 5-wave segmented move. That is the core idea of Elliott wave. And for those who don't like Elliott wave or think that it's nonsense, let me put it forward to you in a different perspective. What we have here is an uptrend. We have a low, we have a high, we have a higher low, we have a higher high, we have a higher low, and we have a higher high. A classic uptrend. On what time frame? On the lower time frames. This is the minute chart or the 5-minute chart. A classic uptrend. Again, in Elliott wave terms, that's a classic impulse. For those of you who don't practice Elliott wave, that's a classic uptrend on the lower time frames here, right? So we started a new uptrend, okay, on the lower time frames. It has yet to translate to the higher time frames. And as PA develops, we can get an idea of what type of structure this is forming and what degree of an impulse we are in. But for now, all that matters to me is that we've established an impulse here off of this level, okay? This move down here, again, we're on the minute time frame. So it's hard for me to break this down into subwaves because it's such a small, tiny move. So I don't know whether we would argue that the impulse started off of this level here, or we can argue that it started off at this impulse here. Could this be the first subwave? This was the second wave. This was the third, etc., etc. Potentially, but, and I'll say this, I've said this before, what we always look for is proportionality between the impulses and the corrective structures that follow them. And so if we were to argue that this was a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, this wave 4 is much bigger than this wave 2, which tells me they're not of the same degree. So I'm not going to make that argument, okay? To me, the way that I'm going to look at it is news comes out, initial short squeeze, pump, whatever, some consolidation, and our first official cleanly identifiable impulse starts off of this level here, okay? And I've talked about before how impulses can start in midair or don't need to necessarily start off the major bottoms. We don't necessarily always have to start our counts from there, although it's good practice to do that in crypto with how volatile it is. And based on many other factors that I've talked about in prior videos, that's not necessarily always the case, as I've learned over the last 5 years of practicing this. So with that being said, I will take this as the start of our impulse, okay? Our first wave to the upside. And what that means is that price, in terms of a corrective wave, can correct anywhere down into this region above this level, and I will consider that a higher low, okay? That means that I don't know how low we're going to pull back before we continue to the upside, but anything down to this level here is fair game, and anything above this level here is very, very healthy, okay? We have our first impulse or our first major high put in. We're looking now for a higher low, wherever that may be, and then we're looking for a higher high or a continuation up above the highs at 95 cents, okay? So that is what I'm looking at on the lower time frames. With that being said, there's many ways that this correction can play out, many structures and shapes that it can take. A pretty common one that we tend to see in these environments is that price forms a three-legged structure, another three-legged structure, okay, that makes a higher high above this level here, and then another three-legged structure, that makes a higher low, and then we see our next impulse or our next move that's like this one, okay? So we might see some choppy price action here as price consolidates. If I go ahead and zoom out, all this looks like is some consolidation. Again, for those who like more traditional methods of analysis, what you'd have here is a break above the highs, a flip to support, and continuation to the upside. Okay, some may call this a range. Okay, for other people that use other methods, what you may get here again is a deviation below the range lows, a reclaim, a push to the highs, consolidation, and continuation. There's many ways that you can look at this and many different ways that you can interpret this in terms of price action. It really doesn't matter. It's all the same stuff when it comes down to it, just different ways of describing it. Use what works for you. But this is a common type of corrective structure that we'll get in Elliott Wave, and we call this a running flat, okay? And again, those of you who are familiar with my Bitcoin analysis, you'll recall that this is the idea that I shared on Bitcoin. Back when Bitcoin was at 69K and I was looking for a pullback to 30 to 40K and the continuation, this is the idea that I was talking about, the idea of a running flat, okay? Bitcoin obviously broke down below these lows, which invalidates the running flat, and that gives us the next structure that I want to talk about, an expanded flat, okay? And again, these are all just different ways of saying consolidation before continuation or consolidation before the next impulse. That's all we're talking about here. Chop, ranging, whatever you want to call it, doesn't really matter. But in that case, what we get is a clean above the high, a move above the highs, and then a rejection and a move down below the range lows, and then continuation. We've seen this again across many different markets in many different instances. That is another corrective structure that we may see, okay? And again, this is what I think we have on Bitcoin. 60K, 69K, 15K, new all-time highs by the end of the year. I talked about that in prior videos. Again, go ahead and give that a watch if you're more interested in that analysis. But this is what I'm looking for in XRP on the lower time frames, okay? On the short time frame and the lower time frames, something like this to play out. Again, could be any variation of corrective structures here, including the running flat, including the expanded flat. We could take the lows first, we could take the highs first. Doesn't matter to me as long as we're above 58 cents, okay? So with that being said, okay, now that we've covered the lower time frame price action, let's go ahead and take a look at the higher time frame, because that's what most of you should be focusing on. And the higher time frame will give us ideas about where XRP may be headed in the coming weeks and potentially months. Okay, so here's the USD chart, and there's many ways that you can look at this. I'm going to go ahead and hide this. We'll go ahead and hide this. Many ways that you can look at this chart, and the most basic way you can interpret this is with the idea of support and resistance, which can be easily identified by the way price is moving, okay? And the levels that price has rejected against, the levels that price has found support against, etc., etc. So if I just eyeball this, I can easily make out this level here, right? Acted as support, broke down, acted as resistance, acted as resistance, acted as resistance, broke out, okay? So from a traditional analysis perspective, what people will be looking for now is they'll be looking for a retest of this level to confirm it as support and continuation to the upside. That is the traditional way of applying these ideas, okay? Prior levels of support, when lost, become levels of resistance, which when reclaimed, then become levels of support, okay? So this is the primary way that people are going to interpret this. And you'll notice that this level that we come down to in this case would be just below that impulse level, right? So I'm going to go back down the lower time frames. You'll see that the level that we come down to would be just below that level that I'd like to see us come down to. I'd like this level to hold. Remember, I mentioned, I believe the impulse looks like it started here. I'd like this level to hold. So that traditional retest may not actually occur. I know a lot of people will be looking for that. There's no guarantees that we get it. And this type of structure makes me think we probably won't. But it's possible, okay? And if I were to, again, zoom out, the argument can be made, okay, if we do break and violate this low, then that means that either one, the impulse did not start from this level and it started lower, okay, maybe from here or here. And this was a very small, and again, I don't like the proportions to this, but this is what happens when you get crazy news developments like this. But some sort of a five-way move up that topped here. Okay, that's the argument if we do move below this level and actually retest this. I don't think that's going to happen personally, but it's possible, okay? But that is how a traditional analyst who doesn't use Elliott Wave and uses solely price action probably be looking at this here, okay? Another way to look at this is we have here in the higher time frames a range, okay? And again, this is another method a lot of traders will be using, and another way that a lot of people will be looking at this, and that is they will be looking at this as we have significant subsequent lower highs and equal lows. We broke down, we deviated below this prior support, we now reclaimed it. We're looking for a move to where? They'll be looking for a move to these highs. How do you get that? Well, you have all these untapped highs. You have this range, which I'll just go ahead and mark off here. Okay, the main high and the major low. And you have a breakdown below the range, a deviation. You now reclaim the range. Again, we're headed to the range highs. That's another way to interpret this or look at it. Okay. Still further, another way to interpret this and look at it, if we zoom out even more, you can take the highs of 2017, you can take the lows that preceded the major breakout, and you can see that we have another massive range. Again, this massive range, we deviated below the lows of the range. We've now reclaimed the range, a nice, beautiful retest of the range lows, push above the mid part of the range, consolidated around the midpoint of the range, broke down, have now reclaimed the midpoint of the range. If I go ahead and delete the lower time frame range that I have here, you'll see that we have a lot of very clean interactions with this midpoint as well. So these are all key levels or different ways of identifying this. Where's the target in this case? The target is, again, these highs and then these highs here, new all-time highs, okay? So different ways to analyze or interpret this price action and ways to look at the chart, but they all point to the same thing, which is higher now that we've reclaimed this level here at around 50 cents. Initial targets being $2, targets after that being $3.30, and that stays in effect as long as this green region holds, okay? If the green region is lost and we fall back below this level, then the argument can be made that this was not a real rally. This was a fake out and we're headed back to take some of these lows before we reverse to the upside. That's not going to happen in my opinion. But that's the counter idea. That's the bearish thesis. So anyone, no matter what method you're using right now, should be bullish on XRP from a technical perspective above 50 cents. Okay, I don't see any reason to be bearish above 50 cents from a technical perspective. If you are bearish here from a technical perspective and from a pure price action perspective, I just don't understand how you can be after everything that we've seen. So initial targets, again, on the lower time frame, I'm looking at the structure that we formed here, and I'm expecting continuation, and I'm not expecting these lows to be met. And so what I'm looking for here is, again, some sort of a structure to occur, and then I'm looking for continuation up very aggressively to our higher targets. And our first target being that $2 level. What are my targets above that level, right? What are my targets above the all-time highs that we have here? Let's talk about that. And after this, we'll talk about XRP against Bitcoin, because as I've been saying for a while now, with limited liquidity in the markets, money's going to flow to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin typically leads the crypto market out of bear cycles or out of bear markets. But I think XRP will outperform Bitcoin over the next few months, and I'll talk about that why. I'll talk about that as well after we cover this USD analysis. And I think XRP is going to be one of the few coins that manages to do that. And we'll talk about that from a technical perspective and again from a fundamental perspective as well. But we'll touch on that here in a minute. Let's talk about upside targets in the USD pairing. Some of you may remember when I first talked about XRP years ago, and I made my videos on XRP, and before we had this SEC case that was filed against XRP, I mentioned targets of $20 to $30 on XRP. And a lot of people didn't like that. They didn't like that I said that XRP could go to $20, $30. They thought I was crazy. They said there's no way that happens. And again, my rationale and my expectations on that were simply based on an idea of market cap relative to what we've seen in the crypto space so far. And we'll talk about that here in a minute. But let's go ahead and jump into that because I think it's important. People ask me, is your target still $20 to $30 for XRP for this cycle? I think we can certainly get to $20 to $30. And I've never said, and I want to make something clear as well because people on the internet like to make things up, but I've never ever said that I think XRP is headed to $589. I remember seeing someone comment that, oh, he rose to fame because he said XRP is headed to $589. Never in my life have I said that. Many times I've said it's not headed to $589. In fact, you can probably find tweets where I've said I don't think it's even headed to $100 this cycle. Of course, that was a couple of years ago. But no, I don't think that XRP is headed to a couple of $100 from 75 cents. I'm not saying that. And I don't think XRP is headed to $589. But I do think it's possible that we do head to $20 to $30. Now, some of the dynamics have changed. It's 2 years later since I've made that statement. And of course, that statement did not include the idea of a lawsuit against the SEC or now a resolution of that case either. All that idea was from was a study of market cap for the most part. And so let me talk about where I think, let me talk about where that idea came from and why I think it's still certainly possible. And we'll take a look at Ethereum trading at $2,000 now. Some of you may recall that Ethereum hit a high of, I want to say $4,000. Let me take a quick look and just double check. But I believe Ethereum hit a high of 4,000 the last move to the upside when Bitcoin hit 69K. Ethereum hit 5K. Okay, Ethereum hit $5,000. Okay, and those of you who follow me know that I think Bitcoin's headed to new all-time highs this year, and those of you who follow me know that I think Ethereum is going to outperform Bitcoin by the end of this cycle, right? Maybe not initially because Bitcoin leads out of the corrections, but ultimately I think Ethereum will outperform from an ROI perspective. So if Ethereum hit 5,000 in the last cycle, I think it's definitely going to hit 10,000 plus in this next run. I should say not in the last cycle. I should say if Ethereum hit $5,000 during the last Bitcoin move to 69K, then I think it will hit easily $10,000 in this next major move to the upside. I think Bitcoin's going to go over 100K. Okay, so if Bitcoin can go twice what its old highs were, Ethereum should certainly outperform and go twice its old highs. $10,000 minimum, in my opinion, for Ethereum. Okay, and really realistically higher than that, significantly higher than that. But let's just take Ethereum's market cap at $10,000, because if you agree with me on that logic, okay, again, Ethereum hit $5,000 already. So if you agree with me that Ethereum can double, okay, then you have to agree with my contention that XRP may hit $20 to $30. Let's take a look at why. Ethereum's market cap right now sits at $250 billion. Okay, that is at a price of $2,000. 5 times that, again, we're not going to take into account the circulating supply increasing or decreasing because there is some variability in that. But with the current circulating supply, and again, there will be some fluctuations, if Ethereum is to 5x in price, then $240 billion becomes $1.2 trillion in market cap. Okay? $1.2 trillion. Remember that. XRP at a market cap of $1.2 trillion. Where does that put us? XRP currently sits at a market cap of around $40 billion. And it's at this $40 billion market cap while it's at around 80 cents. So what would it take for XRP to hit a market cap of 1.2 trillion? If we do the math here, we can see that 40 billion times 30 gives us 1.2 trillion, which means 80 cents times 30 gives us $1.2 trillion of market cap. 80 cents times 30 gives us a dollar price, if my math's correct, of I believe $24. So at $24 for XRP, we hit a market cap of 1.2 trillion. The same market cap that Ethereum would hit at a dollar price of $10,000. So if you believe that Ethereum can hit $10,000 on this next move to the upside, keeping in mind that Ethereum has already hit 5,000 on the last rise. Okay, so if you share my belief that Bitcoin is headed to new all-time highs, I know some of you don't believe it's happening this year, but if you share the belief that it's happening next year in 2024 or 2025, which is what most people that don't believe it's happening this year believe will happen next year, and you believe that Ethereum will also rise and see new highs, and you believe that Ethereum could easily double from the prior highs, then you should believe that XRP can hit a high of $20 to $30, as I've been saying for some time now. It's very logical, but for some reason, because it's XRP, people disregard it as possible. They come up with excuses for us to why it can't happen, when we've very clearly seen that based on market cap levels, it's certainly a possibility. You also have to keep in mind that XRP actually surpassed Ethereum in the last bull cycle in 2017, actually passed Ethereum by market cap. So again and again, I would put XRP in the same class as Ethereum and Bitcoin because those were the 3 biggest market cap coins for the first 5 years of Bitcoin's existence. I consider them all to be in the same class of coins in terms of maturity. And certainly if the SEC hadn't derailed XRP, it was right up there with Ethereum. And if you think Ethereum can hit those levels in the future, then you should not by any means doubt a $20 to $30 XRP. And I know that's a very simple example, but really that's as simple as it is. Very logical as to why that can occur. So now that we've talked about the USD targets and the USD ideas and pricing and all that stuff, let's jump into the Bitcoin pairing and talk about why I think that XRP may outperform Bitcoin over the coming months and maybe an exception to the rule of Bitcoin leads and alts follow. Let's go ahead and jump into that. All right, guys, so here is the XRP Bitcoin chart. I want to show you guys the price action. Again, this is 2017, March of 2017. So this isn't actually when alt season, the major alt season happened that everyone remembers. The major alt season that happened that everyone remembers happened after Bitcoin topped here in December 2017. XRP partook in that one as well. But the first major move on XRP preceded that and happened in February before most other alts were running. Again, XRP, you have to remember, was a top dog in the market, top 3 coin at the time. And so it had a major run of its own prior to Bitcoin seeing its own major run, right? And then ultimately topping in December, XRP had another major run. But keep in mind these 2 major pumps that we're seeing and then the price action that followed after that. There's some price action that preceded that, and it's almost irrelevant now. I'm just going to go to a cleaner chart because this chart has this wick here that's kind of skewing the perception of this whole thing here. So I'm just going to switch charts, but I want you to keep in mind that what preceded these pumps was this sort of choppy price action here. Let's go ahead and switch to this Bitstamp chart, which is a little bit cleaner. Okay, not this one, just kidding. This has a giant wick too. Let's go ahead and change to Bitfinex. Okay, there you go. So this is a more clean representation of XRP BTC. Okay, and again, this was the first major pump that occurred, and then this was the second major pump that occurred when Bitcoin topped 2017, right after Bitcoin topped 2017 at 20K. This is the alt season that everyone remembers. Okay, and what happened prior to that was XRP running from like, I don't remember, from like fractions of a penny to like 2 cents or something like that. So this is the XRP chart. This is the focus of the chart. This is what matters here. And you can see here again from just a classical charting perspective, if I were to go ahead and break this down in terms of support and resistance, we have some key levels here, this major low, and I can mark that off and you can already see how well price interacted with this level again, right? Major pump, broke down below this level, acted as resistance, broke back above, acted as support. Very, very clean, just based off of traditional charting methods in terms of historical support and resistance, right? Prior level of massive impulsive move, broke down below, acted as resistance, reclaimed it, acted as support, and now we're launching off there again. What's the next most important level on this chart? I've talked about this level as well in prior videos. The next most important level in this chart, this level right here, acted as support, broke down, acted as resistance. Again, we can go in and take this area as a whole and kind of broaden that a little bit. And this is the next most important level in the chart, or significant resistance, okay? You can see we've already tested this level 1, 2, and 3 times, and we will soon test it for a 4th time, in my opinion, okay? Once this level is reclaimed for the first time in 4 years, once this level is reclaimed, where are we headed then? In the same way that we looked at the other USD chart, your traditional traders will be eyeing up the highs right here, okay? And again, you can look at this as one giant range with a deviation below the lows, and we're now headed to the highs. Or you can look at this as 2 smaller ranges as well, with this being the high, this being the low of one range. Again, you have one range here, one range here. Once we reclaim this range lows, we go for the range highs. Any way that you look at it, once we're above red, we're probably going to make our way to these highs here, okay? And the move from where we are now to that high there is an 841% move against Bitcoin, meaning if we make such a move, XRP outperforms Bitcoin 8 times to 1. If Bitcoin goes up 10% within the time that we make the move from here to here, XRP goes up 80%. For every 10% Bitcoin goes up, XRP would be going up 80%. And again, this is not a concept that is exclusive to XRP. I've said this many times, and anyone who's been in markets will tell you that smaller assets, more volatile assets, more risky assets like alts in general will typically outperform the safest blue chip asset in a market class, okay? The ones that do outperform will outperform tremendously. There'll obviously be some coins that are worthless junk, scams, et cetera, that'll not outperform to that extent and that will not survive. But the alts that do survive will ultimately typically outperform because you're taking a higher risk in an alt than you are in BTC generally. And because there's a higher risk, there's a higher reward, okay? So yeah, people are going to be like, there's no way XRP performs 8 times better than Bitcoin. And I will say it's just logical that it does. It's logical that it outperforms if it survives. And it's logical that it outperforms by a magnitude of 8x for a period of time based on the charts that we're seeing here and traditional methods of charting and analysis. Again, just like we saw a major bump here that eventually bled out, I'm not saying that we're going to push up to this level and then stay up here forever and keep going and never come down. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that at some point, XRP is going to go on a run. And once we clear this level here, it's probably going to go a lot higher. And at some point, XRP will outperform Bitcoin to the upside by a tremendous amount, okay? Do we know when that's going to happen? No, but I can tell you now, based on the events that have just occurred and the USD chart and the USD pairing that I just showed you guys, I think there's a good chance that this happens over the coming months, that this type of a move happens over the coming months, right? So at the bare minimum on the XRP chart, here's another key level that you can look at. At the bare minimum on the XRP chart, again, expecting some consolidation on the USD pairing, but ultimately expecting continuation of the upside to $2 plus, which should coincide with a move up on the XRP Bitcoin pairing. But I do think that XRP will probably outperform in the coming weeks and months. And areas of interest will be this level here. The next area of interest will be the highs right here, and you can consider this its own little mini range. And the next area of interest will be the highs right here as all potential targets on the upside where you may consider moving some XRP back into Bitcoin if you decide to do that if you're a trader. At least that's what they'll be looking at. But these are the levels that I'm looking at, and with XRP outperforming 8x to the upside, new all-time highs, and much further than that is not too far away. Let's take this level here and then multiply by Bitcoin's current price just to get an idea of where XRP could be, assuming Bitcoin stays stagnant and XRP does outperform to the upside. So we take 30,000 and we multiply it by 0.000229, okay, which is these highs here, okay? And assuming that Bitcoin stays stagnant at 30K and goes sideways for the next year, which is what some people think is going to happen, I obviously don't, but assuming that were to happen and XRP BTC were to outperform to the upside like it may, that would put XRP at a USD dollar price of, I'm just going to do the math real quick, 30,000 times 0.000236 gives us an XRP price of $7, okay? $7. Now let's take this and assume that Bitcoin does continue to go up over the next 6 months like I think it will, and ultimately break new all-time highs, and see where XRP would be at an XRP BTC ratio of 0.00023 with a Bitcoin price of $60,000. It'd be at $14, okay? And then keep in mind that I think that Bitcoin's headed to new all-time highs, not just 60K, okay? So if Bitcoin hits 90K and XRP hits this level at that time, it would be at $20. And that is how we get to the $20 to $30 target just based off of the charts. But you guys have to understand that when people say number can't go that high, this is crypto, and we've literally seen numbers go that high in terms of market cap already, or go to a level of XRP being at double digits already. So I need to hear a better argument than number is too high when people say that XRP can't make moves of that magnitude. So this is the XRP BTC chart. These are key levels that you'll be wanting to look at over the coming weeks. If you have any interest in learning TA, watch the interactions with these levels on the BTC chart. Watch the interactions that with the levels covered in the USD charts if you want to follow along. But long story short, guys, very, very bullish on XRP in the coming months. Just based on the charts, we have from a purely technical perspective and any way that you look at it, whether it's an alleyway perspective, whether it's a range trading perspective, whether it's a PA perspective, very bullish signs here. And any way you look at it, XRP is due for a monster move. And with the cloud of the SEC that was hanging over it gone, I think that move is going to occur in the coming months. This is it for this video, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did enjoy it, please like, share, and subscribe. It keeps me motivated to make these videos. And let me know what you guys think in the comments. All right, I hope you guys enjoy it. I'll catch you guys for the next one.